Andre Bennett pulled his rental car into the curved driveway of the Silver Crown Hotel, one of the most prestigious addresses in the city. The grand building stood tall against the evening sky, its windows glowing with warm light that promised comfort and luxury to its guests. Andre took a deep breath and checked his reflection in the rearview mirror. The 14-hour flight from Tokyo had left him tired, but his eyes still held the sharp intelligence that had helped him build his tech company from nothing into an industry leader. He grabbed his leather overnight bag from the passenger seat and handed his keys to the valet, who smiled and welcomed him with a polite nod. The cool evening air felt refreshing after the long journey. Andre had been traveling for nearly 20 hours with only a brief layover in San Francisco, but the importance of tomorrow's investor meeting made the grueling trip necessary. All he wanted now was a hot shower and a comfortable bed where he could review his presentation notes before getting some much-needed sleep. The hotel's revolving doors spun him into a grand lobby with marble floors that gleamed under crystal chandeliers. Soft classical music played in the background, and the air smelled faintly of fresh flowers. Several guests in business attire clustered around the bar to the right, while others sat in plush armchairs engrossed in conversation. The Silver Crown was clearly living up to its reputation as the gathering place for the city's elite and business travelers. Andre approached the front desk, where a young woman with blonde hair pulled into a tight bun was typing rapidly on a computer. Her name tag read Heather. She didn't look up when he placed his credit card and ID on the counter. "Good evening," Andre said with a polite smile. "I have a reservation for 3 nights." Heather's fingers stopped typing. She glanced up briefly, her eyes quickly taking in Andre's casual travel clothes, dark jeans, a plain navy sweater, and comfortable walking shoes, before returning to her screen. "Your name?" Her tone was noticeably cooler than the cheerful voice Andre had heard her use with the older couple she'd checked in just moments before. "Andre Bennett. I should have an executive suite booked through Bennett Tech Solutions." Heather's fingers moved across her keyboard again, but the slight frown on her face deepened. "I don't see a reservation under that name," she said without making eye contact. Andre maintained his polite demeanor despite his growing fatigue. "That's strange. I have the confirmation email right here." He pulled out his phone, opened his email, and showed her the screen displaying his booking confirmation from the hotel, complete with reservation number. Heather barely glanced at it. "That must be an error in our system. We're fully booked tonight with a finance conference. There are no executive suites available." The man standing at the desk next to Andre was also checking in. Andre couldn't help noticing that Heather had found his reservation without any problem, despite claiming the system was experiencing errors. "Could you please check again using the reservation number?" Andre asked, his voice still calm but firmer now. He read out the number from his phone. Heather sighed as if he was causing her great inconvenience. "Like I said, we're fully booked. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at the airport plaza. It's about 15 minutes from here." A well-dressed couple walked up to the desk at that moment, and Heather's face immediately transformed into a welcoming smile. "Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, how wonderful to see you again. Your usual suite is ready for you." Andre felt a familiar knot forming in his stomach, one he had felt too many times before in similar situations. He had dealt with this kind of treatment throughout his career, especially before his company had made headlines and his face had appeared in business magazines. But he had learned that keeping his composure was always the best approach. "Excuse me," he said, his voice quiet but clear. "I made this reservation 3 weeks ago and received confirmation. I've flown from Tokyo today for an important meeting tomorrow. I need to speak with a manager, please." Heather's smile vanished. "The manager is in a meeting. If you'd like to wait, you can sit over there." She gestured vaguely toward the lobby seating area. "But as I've explained, we simply don't have any rooms available." Andre took a deep breath. "I understand you're busy, but I have a confirmed reservation, which constitutes a binding contract. I'm happy to wait for the manager, but I will need my room tonight." A few other guests waiting in line began to shift uncomfortably. Andre noticed some of them exchanging glances, while others pretended not to notice what was happening. "Fine," Heather said curtly. "Please wait in the lounge area. I'll see if Mr. Reynolds can speak with you when he's available." Andre nodded and moved to a leather armchair in the corner of the lobby, where he could still see the front desk. He sent a quick text to his assistant updating her on the situation and confirming their meeting preparations for tomorrow. Then he made a few calls to his team back in California, discussing the final adjustments to their presentation. All the while, he kept one eye on the front desk, where Heather continued to check in guest after guest without any apparent issues. 45 minutes passed. Andre watched as at least 15 people were checked in smoothly. Twice he approached the desk to ask about the manager, and twice Heather told him that Mr. Reynolds was still unavailable. The lobby gradually emptied as guests headed to their rooms or out to dinner, while Andre remained waiting, his overnight bag at his feet. He was considering his options when his phone rang. It was Howard Parker, one of the local investors he was meeting tomorrow. "Andre, are you in town yet? A few of us are having drinks at the Capitol Grill. Why don't you join us? Informal, of course, just a chance to meet before tomorrow's presentation." Andre glanced at his watch. Nearly an hour had passed since he'd arrived at the hotel. "I've run into a small issue with my hotel reservation, Howard. I'm still at the Silver Crown trying to sort it out." "The Silver Crown? What's the problem?" Howard asked. Andre explained the situation briefly, downplaying the details. Howard's voice took on an edge. "That's completely unacceptable. I'm on the board of the business association that's hosting their conference this week. Let me make a call." "I appreciate that, Howard, but nonsense. This is embarrassing for our city. Give me 5 minutes." Less than 3 minutes later, a tall man in a tailored suit hurried into the lobby, looking around with a concerned expression. When he spotted Andre, he walked directly over and extended his hand. "Mr. Bennett, I'm David Reynolds, the general manager. I understand there's been some confusion with your reservation. Please accept my sincere apologies." Andre stood and shook the man's hand. "Thank you for taking the time to help sort this out. The confusion is entirely our fault," Reynolds said, looking genuinely distressed. "Your reservation is absolutely confirmed in our system. I don't know what happened at check-in, but we will get to the bottom of it." He gestured toward the front desk where Heather was now standing straight-backed and pale. "Please come with me. Your executive suite is ready, and we'd like to offer you a complimentary upgrade to our presidential suite for the inconvenience you've experienced." As they walked to the desk, Andre noticed a group of people in business attire seated in the hotel restaurant. They were deep in conversation, papers and laptops spread across their table. One man was saying something about liquidity problems, while another mentioned potential buyers and bailout options. Andre made a mental note of the conversation, his entrepreneurial instincts always alert to business opportunities. At the desk, Reynolds personally processed Andre's check-in, while Heather stood silently nearby. The manager handed Andre an elegant keycard folder. "Again, Mr. Bennett, please accept our deepest apologies. The Silver Crown prides itself on exceptional service for all our guests. What happened tonight falls far short of our standards." He lowered his voice. "I assure you this matter will be addressed immediately." Andre nodded, accepting the key. "Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. I appreciate your handling of the situation." He deliberately made eye contact with Heather, giving her a small nod of acknowledgement rather than resentment. As the bellhop took his bag and led him toward the elevators, Andre heard Reynolds speaking firmly but quietly to Heather. He caught phrases like completely unacceptable and immediate review. Andre didn't look back. His mind was already shifting focus, partly to the investor meeting tomorrow, but also to the intriguing conversation he'd overheard. The presidential suite on the top floor was impressive, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. Andre tipped the bellhop, then stood by the window for a moment, taking in the view and reflecting on what had just happened downstairs. Throughout his life, from his childhood in a working-class neighborhood to his rise as a tech innovator, he had faced similar situations. Each time he had used these experiences not as setbacks but as fuel for his determination to succeed and then to create change from positions of influence. He pulled out his phone and called Howard to thank him for his help and confirm their drinks meeting. As he changed his clothes, Andre found himself thinking about the conversation he'd overheard in the lobby. If the Silver Crown was having financial troubles, that could present an interesting opportunity. He made a mental note to have his team look into it first thing in the morning. By the time Andre left his room to meet Howard and the other investors, his mind was already working on something much bigger than the unpleasant check-in experience. Sometimes, he reflected, The most significant opportunities came disguised as problems. The Capitol Grill buzzed with the energy of a high-end steakhouse at prime dinner hour. Conversations flowed around polished wooden tables while servers moved efficiently between well-dressed patrons. Andre spotted Howard Parker waving from a corner table where 3 other people sat with drinks already in hand. There he is. Howard stood up as Andre approached. A man in his 60s with salt and pepper hair and the confident posture of someone accustomed to being in charge. Howard had been one of the first investors to show interest in Andre's new customer service platform. Everyone meet Andre Bennett, the genius behind Persona Connect. Andre shook hands with everyone at the table as Howard made introductions. There was Diane Liu, Chief Innovation Officer at a regional banking group. Thomas Rivera, who headed a venture capital firm specializing in hospitality tech. And Grace Chen, whose family owned a chain of boutique hotels across the West Coast. "We were just talking about you," Thomas said, as Andre took the empty seat. "Howard tells us you had some trouble at the Silver Crown?" Andre waved his hand dismissively. "Just a reservation mix-up." The manager sorted it out. Grace raised an eyebrow. "David Reynolds, tall guy, always looks like he's about to apologize for something." "That's him," Andre nodded. "Do you know him?" "I know of the Silver Crown's reputation. It used to be the crown jewel of the Wellington Hospitality Group, but—" She trailed off, taking a sip of her wine. "But what?" Andre asked, his interest piqued. Thomas leaned forward. "But Wellington's been struggling lately. Bad investments, poor management decisions. Word is they're looking to offload some properties." A server arrived to take Andre's drink order. After requesting a sparkling water with lime, he turned back to the conversation. "That's interesting. I actually overheard something similar in the lobby. Some people were discussing liquidity problems and potential buyers. The 4 investors exchanged glances. That would be the Wellington board members," Howard said. "They're in town for an emergency meeting. Trying to keep things quiet, but in this business, word gets around." Diane tapped her fingernail against her glass. "The Silver Crown sits on prime real estate. Historically significant building, excellent location. The property alone is worth a fortune, but their service reputation has taken a nosedive in recent years." "I noticed," Andre said dryly, thinking of Heather at the front desk. "Their tech is outdated too," Thomas added. "No integrated guest experience platforms, minimal digital presence. They're still operating like it's 2010. Andre felt a familiar sensation, the same one he'd experienced when he first identified the market gap that led to his company's creation. It was like a puzzle piece clicking into place, revealing a bigger picture. "What would it take to acquire a property like that?" he asked casually. The table went quiet for a moment. "Are you serious?" Howard finally asked. Andre shrugged. "Just curious." Grace studied him with newfound interest. "Well, given Wellington's current position, probably less than market value. But we're still talking significant capital, maybe 50-60 million for a controlling interest." "That's assuming Wellington would sell to an outsider," Diane added. "They're old school, very traditional about who they do business with." Andre nodded thoughtfully. The server returned with his water, and the conversation shifted to tomorrow's meeting. But part of his mind remained fixed on the Silver Crown and its possibilities. After dinner, while the others called for their cars, Howard pulled Andre aside. "That wasn't idle curiosity back there, was it?" the older man asked. "About acquiring the Silver Crown." Andre considered how much to reveal. He'd known Howard for years and trusted his judgment. "Let's just say I see potential where others might see problems." Howard nodded slowly. "I'm on the Wellington Hospitality Group's extended advisory board. Not a voting position, but I hear things. Their CEO, Richard Wellington III, is under enormous pressure. The board wants to sell the Silver Crown, but Richard sees it as his grandfather's legacy. He's looking for someone who'll preserve its character while making it profitable again. And the right person hasn't come along. The right person with the right vision and the right resources? No." Howard gave Andre a meaningful look. "Until maybe now?" Andre took a slow sip of water. "I'd need to see the financials, and I'd want to bring in my own people to evaluate the property. I could arrange a private meeting with Richard tomorrow afternoon, after our investor presentation." Howard pulled out his phone. "Say 4 o'clock?" Andre thought about his schedule. His flight back wasn't until the following day. "Make it 5. And Howard, let's keep this between us for now. Howard nodded with a slight smile. Of course. But Andre, if you're serious about this, you should know something. He lowered his voice. The Wellington board is meeting again tomorrow night. They're voting on whether to accept an offer from Granite Holdings, a company known for buying historic properties, stripping them down and flipping them for parts. You mean they'd gut the building, fire the staff, and sell off the pieces? The Silver Crown would be gone forever. Howard's expression was grim. Just thought you should know what you're up against. The board meeting starts at 8. Any offer would need to be on the table before then. Back in his presidential suite, Andre paced in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city lights sparkled below, and he could see the reflection of his thoughtful expression in the glass. He'd built his company on the principle that technology should enhance human connection, not replace it. His customer service platform had revolutionized how businesses interacted with clients by prioritizing personalization and emotional intelligence. What if he applied those same principles to a historic hotel struggling to adapt to modern expectations? Andre opened his laptop and began researching the Silver Crown's history. Built in 1926 during the height of the Art Deco movement, it had hosted presidents, movie stars, and business tycoons. For decades, it had been synonymous with luxury and exceptional service. But recent reviews told a different story. Complaints about outdated rooms, inconsistent service, and a general feeling that the hotel was resting on its faded reputation. He pulled up the financial reports for Wellington Hospitality Group, which were publicly available since the company was traded on the stock exchange. The numbers confirmed what Howard had suggested: declining revenue, increasing debt, and shrinking profit margins across their properties, with the Silver Crown performing particularly poorly. Andre leaned back in his chair, his mind racing with possibilities. The hotel had good bones and a prime location. With the right management approach, updated technology, and a renewed focus on personalized service, it could recapture its former glory and potentially become a showcase for his company's customer service platform. He picked up his phone and called his chief financial officer in California. Despite the late hour, "Miguel, it's Andre. I need you to clear your schedule tomorrow. I'm sending you some financial reports on a property I'm considering acquiring. I need a complete analysis and potential offering structure by noon my time." He paused, listening to Miguel's surprised response. "Yes, it's a hotel. The Silver Crown. I know it's not our usual business model, but I see an opportunity here." After ending the call, Andre contacted his lawyer, his head of operations, and finally his assistant, giving each specific tasks for the morning. By the time he finally went to bed at 2 in the morning, he had the outline of a plan forming. Andre woke early the next day, his mind still turning over possibilities for the Silver Crown. After a quick workout in the hotel gym, he showered and dressed in his best suit, charcoal gray with a subtle blue pinstripe, paired with a crisp white shirt and navy tie. His investor presentation wasn't until 11, which gave him time to explore the hotel more thoroughly. He began in the lobby, observing the flow of guests and staff during the morning rush. The space itself was magnificent. Soaring ceilings, marble columns, and Art Deco details that whispered of a more elegant era. But the operations were clearly strained. The line at the front desk moved slowly, and he noticed several guests checking their watches impatiently. The bellhop seemed overwhelmed, and the concierge was on the phone, unable to assist the 3 people waiting for attention. Andre moved on to the hotel restaurant for breakfast. The food was excellent, but the service was inconsistent. Some tables received immediate attention, while others waited several minutes just to order coffee. He spotted Heather, the receptionist from last night, speaking to another staff member near the entrance. She looked tired and stressed, nothing like the poised but cold woman who had denied him a room. As he finished his coffee, Andre noticed David Reynolds, the manager, making his way through the restaurant, stopping at tables to greet guests. When Reynolds spotted Andre, he immediately changed direction and approached his table. "Mr. Bennett, good morning," Reynolds said, extending his hand. "I hope you found the suite to your satisfaction?" "More than satisfactory," Andre assured him. "The hotel is beautiful." Reynolds smiled, though the expression didn't quite reach his eyes. "Thank you. The Silver Crown has a rich history. We strive to maintain its legacy of excellence." Andre could hear the strain behind the words. "It can't be easy balancing historic character with modern expectations. It's Challenging, Reynolds admitted. But rewarding when we get it right, Andre nodded thoughtfully. Mr. Reynolds, I'm curious. If you had unlimited resources to improve one aspect of the hotel, what would it be? The question caught the manager off guard. He hesitated, then seemed to make a decision to be candid. Our people, he said firmly. We have staff who've been here for decades, who know this hotel better than anyone. With proper training, support, and the right tools, they could deliver exceptional experiences for every guest, but... He trailed off. But resources are limited. Andre finished for him. Exactly. Reynolds checked his watch. I should let you enjoy the rest of your breakfast. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you need anything during your stay. As Reynolds walked away, Andre's phone buzzed with a text from Miguel. The financial analysis was already underway, and the initial findings confirmed his suspicions. The Silver Crown was undervalued and underperforming, but its potential was enormous. Andre smiled to himself as he signed the breakfast check. His presentation to the investors was important, but the meeting with Richard Wellington III at 5 o'clock might be even more significant. As he crossed the lobby toward the conference rooms, Andre found himself imagining what the Silver Crown could become with the right vision and how satisfying it might feel to transform a place where he had been made to feel unwelcome into a beacon of inclusive excellence. The hotel's grand ballroom buzzed with energy as Andre concluded his presentation. The room, filled with 30 potential investors, erupted into applause. Andre had spent the last hour explaining how his company's new customer service platform could transform businesses by creating more meaningful connections with customers. Thank you for your attention, Andre said, his voice confident but humble. I'm happy to take any questions. Hands shot up across the room. Andre fielded questions about implementation costs, scalability, and compatibility with existing systems. His answers were clear and thoughtful, drawing on both technical expertise and his passion for improving customer experiences. He noticed Howard Parker in the back of the room, nodding approvingly. After the Q&A ended, investors clustered around Andre, exchanging business cards and scheduling follow-up meetings. The presentation had gone even better than he'd hoped. By the time the room finally emptied, it was already past 2 in the afternoon. Howard approached as Andre was packing up his laptop. That was impressive, the older man said. I've already had 3 people ask me for private introductions to you. Andre smiled. That was the goal. How did the call with Richard Wellington go? He's agreed to meet you at 5, Howard confirmed.
In his office on the top floor.
He seemed intrigued when I mentioned your interest, though he tried not to show it. Howard lowered his voice. And I've confirmed the board meeting is definitely happening at 8 tonight. Wellington is running out of options, Andre nodded. I've had my team working since dawn. I should have everything I need by 4. You're really serious about this? It wasn't a question, I am, Andre said simply. Howard studied him for a moment. May I ask why? You build software, not hotels. Andre considered the question. My grandfather worked as a doorman at a luxury hotel for 40 years, he finally said. He taught me that true service comes from seeing people, really seeing them, and responding to their needs with dignity and respect. My software tries to translate that human connection into the digital world. He paused. But sometimes you need to go back to the source. Howard nodded slowly. Well, whatever your reasons, I think the Silver Crown would be lucky to have you. He checked his watch. I've got another meeting, but good luck with Wellington. He can be traditional. After Howard left, Andre headed back to his suite. He found 3 emails from his team waiting for him. Miguel had sent a detailed financial analysis of the Wellington Hospitality Group and the Silver Crown specifically. His lawyer had prepared a preliminary offer letter with multiple options depending on how the negotiation went. His operations chief had compiled a report on the hotel's current systems and staff structure, along with recommendations for immediate improvements. Andre reviewed everything carefully, making notes and adjusting figures. The picture was clearer now. The Silver Crown was losing money, but not because the concept was flawed. Poor management, outdated systems, and a failure to adapt to changing customer expectations had created a downward spiral. With the right approach, the hotel could be profitable again within a year. At 4:30, Andre changed into a fresh shirt and headed to the executive elevator that would take him to the top floor. As he waited, he spotted Heather at the front desk again. She was helping an elderly couple, her manner professional but distant. When she happened to look up and saw Andre, her face flushed slightly, and she quickly looked away. The executive floor of the Silver Crown housed the offices of the Wellington Hospitality Group. Andre was led through a reception area, decorated with historic photos of the hotel, and into a large corner office with panoramic views of the city. Richard Wellington III stood as Andre entered. He was a tall man in his early 60s with thinning gray hair and the polished appearance of old money. His handshake was firm, his smile practiced. "Mr. Bennett," Wellington said, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. "Howard speaks very highly of you, though I must say I was surprised to hear about your interest in our little family business." Andre took the offered seat. "The Silver Crown is hardly little, Mr. Wellington. It's an iconic property with a remarkable history." Wellington nodded, seemingly pleased with the response. "My grandfather built this hotel in 1926. He used to say that a truly great hotel is a world unto itself, a place where dreams are respected and people are treated like royalty, regardless of who they are," he sighed. "Different times, of course." "I don't think that philosophy has an expiration date," Andre said. Wellington gave him a measured look. "Perhaps not, but the business has changed. Guests want technology, convenience, instant gratification. The art of service is being lost." "Or reimagined," Andre countered. "Technology should enhance human connection, not replace it." Wellington raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "That's an unusual perspective from a tech entrepreneur." "It's the foundation of my business," Andre explained. "My company builds tools that help service providers understand and respond to human needs more effectively. The goal isn't to eliminate the human touch. It's to make it more consistent and accessible." Wellington leaned back in his chair. "Fascinating, but that still doesn't explain why you'd want to buy a hotel." Andre met his gaze directly. "Because I believe the Silver Crown can be great again. It has everything it needs: location, history, character. What it's missing is a bridge between its legacy and the future." For the next 20 minutes, Andre outlined his vision for the hotel. He explained how updated systems could free staff to focus on guests, how data could help anticipate needs without feeling intrusive, and how the historic character of the building could be preserved while modernizing the guest experience. Wellington listened intently, occasionally asking sharp questions that revealed his deep knowledge of the hotel business. As Andre finished, the older man stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city his family had helped build. "You've clearly done your homework, Mr. Bennett," he said without turning around. "But I have to ask, why the urgency? This property has been in my family for nearly a century. Why should I make a decision today?" Andre chose his words carefully. "Because I understand there's another offer on the table. From Granite Holdings." Wellington turned, his expression darkening. "Howard told you?" "He mentioned it," Andre acknowledged. "And I know what Granite does to historic properties." "They would gut it," Wellington said bitterly. "Turn the lower floors into retail space and convert the rest into overpriced condominiums. 100 years of history, gone. And the staff would lose their jobs," Andre added. Wellington nodded grimly. "Over 200 people, many who've been with us for decades." He returned to his desk and sat down heavily. "But the board sees only numbers, and the numbers favor Granite's offer." Andre opened his briefcase and removed a folder. "I believe my offer addresses both concerns. The purchase price is competitive with Granite's, but with better terms. And I'm committing to retain the current staff for a minimum of 1 year, while we implement improvements." Wellington accepted the folder and reviewed its contents, his expression carefully neutral. Several minutes passed in silence as he studied the figures. Finally, he looked up. "Your offer is interesting," he admitted. "But the board votes tonight. I'm only one voice among 12. But you're the CEO," Andre pointed out. "And it's your family's legacy. Your recommendation carries weight." Wellington seemed to be wrestling with an internal dilemma. Finally, he reached a decision. "The board meets at 8, he said. "I can't guarantee they'll accept your offer over Granite's, but I'll present it fairly and add my personal recommendation." He extended his hand. "Thank you for your interest in preserving what my grandfather built, Mr. Bennett." They shook hands, and Andre left the office with cautious optimism. In the elevator ride down, he reviewed his next steps. The board would need time to discuss both offers. He likely wouldn't have an answer until late tonight or early tomorrow. As he crossed the lobby toward the hotel restaurant, His phone rang. It was Miguel. "Boss, I've been digging deeper into Wellington Hospitality's financials," his CFO said without preamble. "Something doesn't add up. Their debt load is much higher than they're reporting publicly." Andre stopped walking. "How much higher?" "At least double. They're on the verge of defaulting on several loans. If that happens, they'll lose control of all their properties, not just the Silver Crown." Andre processed this information quickly. So Richard Wellington isn't just looking for a buyer, he's desperate for cash. Exactly. And there's more. I found records of a personal loan that Wellington took out against his shares in the company. If the company goes under, he loses everything. "When is this loan due?" Andre asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "End of the month," Miguel confirmed. "Less than 2 weeks away." Andre thanked Miguel and ended the call, his mind racing. This changed everything. Wellington wasn't just trying to save his family's legacy, he was fighting for financial survival. As Andre stood contemplating this new information, he noticed David Reynolds, the hotel manager, having an intense conversation with another staff member near the restaurant entrance. Reynolds looked stressed, running his hand through his hair repeatedly. Andre made a decision. He walked over to the two men. "Mr. Reynolds," he said, "I wonder if I might have a word with you in private." Reynolds seemed surprised but nodded. "Of course, Mr. Bennett. Would you like to use my office?" "That would be perfect," Andre said. As they walked toward the management offices, Andre considered his approach. The board meeting was still hours away, but with this new information, he might be able to strengthen his position and ensure that the Silver Crown's future would be secure in the right hands. David Reynolds' office was much smaller than Richard Wellington's, but it had a lived-in quality that spoke of long hours and genuine dedication. Family photos sat on a cluttered desk alongside stacks of reports and a half-empty coffee mug. A framed Employee of the Year certificate from 15 years ago hung slightly crooked on the wall. "Please have a seat," Reynolds said, clearing some papers from a chair. "What can I do for you, Mr. Bennett?" Andre sat down and came straight to the point. "I'm considering purchasing the Silver Crown Hotel." Reynolds froze, then slowly lowered himself into his chair. "I wasn't aware the hotel was for sale." "Officially, it isn't," Andre acknowledged. "But the Wellington Hospitality Group is in financial trouble, and the board is voting tonight on an offer from Granite Holdings." Reynolds' face paled. "Granite? They're corporate raiders. They'd tear this place apart." "That's my understanding as well," Andre agreed, "which is why I've made a competing offer, one that would preserve the hotel and keep the staff employed." Hope flickered across Reynolds' face, quickly replaced by caution. "And you're telling me this because I need your help," Andre said simply. "I've just learned that Wellington's financial situation is worse than I thought. The board might see Granite's offer as the safer option, especially if they're only looking at short-term gain." Reynolds leaned forward. "What kind of help do you need?" "Information," Andre replied. "The real story of this hotel, not just the financial reports and occupancy rates, but the people, the untapped potential, the obstacles to excellence." "No one knows that better than you." Reynolds studied Andre for a long moment, as if making a decision about whether to trust him. Finally, he opened a drawer and pulled out a thick folder. "I've been managing this hotel for 12 years, he said, placing the folder on the desk between them. "Every year I submit a detailed improvement plan to Mr. Wellington, and every year I'm told there isn't enough budget to implement more than a fraction of it." He tapped the folder. "This is this year's plan. It identifies exactly what the Silver Crown needs to regain its 5-star status." Andre opened the folder and began scanning the contents. It was impressively comprehensive. Staffing recommendations, training programs, technology upgrades, renovation priorities, even marketing strategies. All meticulously researched and costed. "This is excellent work," Andre said, genuinely impressed. "It would transform this place," Reynolds said, passion evident in his voice. "We have staff with incredible potential but no support. Systems that should have been updated a decade ago. Spaces that could be generating revenue sitting unused. The bones of this hotel are still strong. It just needs someone who sees what it could be." Andre continued reading, occasionally asking clarifying questions that Reynolds answered with growing enthusiasm. An hour passed quickly as they discussed the hotel's challenges and opportunities. Andre made notes on his phone, his mind working through scenarios and priorities. "There's something else you should know," Reynolds said eventually, his tone becoming more serious. The staff morale is at an all-time low. Everyone knows something is happening. Rumors about layoffs, about selling the hotel. People are afraid for their jobs. Andre nodded thoughtfully. If I were to acquire the Silver Crown, changing that culture of fear would be a top priority. And Heather? Reynolds asked, watching Andre carefully. The receptionist who gave you trouble yesterday? Andre hadn't expected this question. What about her? Would you fire her? Reynolds pressed. Many new owners would, especially after an incident like that. Andre considered his answer carefully. I believe in second chances, Mr. Reynolds, and in addressing root causes rather than symptoms. From what I've seen, Heather's behavior might be more about the environment she's working in than her personal qualities. Relief crossed Reynolds' face. You're right. Heather used to be one of our best employees. Employee of the month 3 times in her first year. But the cutbacks, the pressure, the constant fear of losing her job, it's changed her. Changed a lot of our staff. A knock at the door interrupted their conversation. Reynolds' assistant poked her head in. Sorry to disturb you, but Mr. Wellington is looking for Mr. Bennett. He says it's urgent. Andre thanked Reynolds for his time and the valuable insights, then followed the assistant to the executive elevator. As they waited, he spotted Heather again. This time, she was helping an elderly guest with mobility issues, showing surprising patience and care as she slowly walked with him toward the entrance. The observation reinforced what Reynolds had said. People responded to their environment. The right leadership could bring out the best in even the most challenging employees. Richard Wellington was pacing his office when Andre arrived. He looked agitated, his usually composed demeanor replaced by nervous energy. Bennett, he said, dispensing with formalities. The board meeting has been moved up. It's starting in 30 minutes, Andre checked his watch. It was just after 6. Why the change? Granite revised their offer, Wellington said grimly. They've increased the purchase price by $10 million and promised a faster closing. Someone tipped them off about your interest. Andre absorbed this news calmly. I see, and you think the board will accept their new offer? It's very likely. Wellington ran a hand through his hair. I've advocated for your proposal, explained your vision for preserving the hotel, but several board members are focused solely on the bottom line. They see Granite's offer as a sure thing versus your... He hesitated. My what? Andre prompted. Your unproven concept, Wellington finished. Integrating technology with traditional hospitality is untested, at least at this scale. It represents risk. Andre nodded, understanding the challenge. What would it take to convince them? Wellington's expression was bleak. At this point, a miracle, or, he trailed off, or, Andre pressed, or a significant increase in your offer, Wellington admitted. Money talks, especially to shareholders facing potential losses. Andre considered his options. He'd prepared for this possibility, had discussed contingencies with Miguel and his team. His original offer was fair, more than fair considering the hotel's current performance. Increasing it substantially would stretch his resources and potentially impact his company's other projects. But as he thought about the staff he'd observed, about Reynolds' passion and vision, about the rich history of the Silver Crown, he made his decision. I'll increase my offer by $15 million, he said, with 2 conditions. Wellington's eyebrows shot up. $15 million? That's substantial. What conditions? First, the vote happens today as scheduled. No more delays, no opportunities for Granite to counter. Wellington nodded. And the second condition? I want to present my case to the board personally. Wellington considered this. That's highly unusual. Board deliberations are private. These are unusual circumstances, Andre pointed out. Your board members are worried about risk. Let me address their concerns directly. Wellington hesitated, then nodded. I'll make it happen. The meeting is in the Wellington boardroom on this floor. Be there in 20 minutes and be prepared for tough questions. As Wellington left to make arrangements, Andre called Miguel to update him on the situation and the increased offer. His CFO was concerned but supportive, quickly reworking the numbers to accommodate the new price. Andre then took a moment to center himself. He walked to the window, looking out at the city as the setting sun cast long shadows between buildings. He thought about his grandfather, who had worked his entire life in service to others, often facing discrimination but never letting it diminish his dignity or his dedication to excellence. This one's for you. Grandpa, he whispered. At precisely 6:30, Andre entered the Wellington boardroom. 12 people sat around a polished mahogany table, all wearing expressions ranging from curiosity to open skepticism. Richard Wellington stood at the head of the table. "Ladies and gentlemen of the board," Wellington said formally, "Mr. Andre Bennett has requested the opportunity to address us regarding his offer for the Silver Crown Hotel. Given the significance of today's decision, I've granted his request." Andre stepped forward. Feeling the weight of multiple gazes assessing him, he recognized the moment for what it was. Not just a business presentation, but a test of whether these people, steeped in tradition and accustomed to doing things a certain way, would entrust their family legacy to someone like him. "Thank you for this opportunity," Andre began, his voice steady and confident. "I know your time is valuable, so I'll be direct. The Silver Crown isn't just a building or a business, it's a living piece of history. Under my ownership, it would not only survive but thrive, honoring its past while embracing the future." For the next 15 minutes, Andre laid out his vision with passion and precision. He detailed the innovations that would modernize operations while enhancing the human touch. He shared specific plans for addressing the hotel's financial challenges and restoring its reputation for exceptional service. As he spoke, he could see expressions around the table shifting, skepticism giving way to interest, doubt transforming into consideration. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then a silver-haired woman at the far end of the table leaned forward. "Your presentation is impressive, Mr. Bennett, but Granite is offering a certainty, a clean exit with maximum profit. Why should we take a chance on your vision?" It was the opening Andre had been waiting for. "Because some things are worth more than a quick profit," he said. "Ask yourselves this. A year from now, do you want to drive past this building and see a luxury shopping mall where your family's legacy once stood? Or would you rather see the Silver Crown, restored to greatness, continuing to serve this city for another 100 years, with the Wellington name still associated with excellence?" He could see his words landing, especially with the older board members. He pressed his advantage. "My revised offer gives you the financial security you need now, while preserving something more valuable than money, the Wellington legacy." Richard Wellington cleared his throat. "The board will now deliberate in private. Mr. Bennett, thank you for your presentation." Andre nodded respectfully and left the room. In the hallway outside, he took a deep breath. He had done everything he could. Now it was up to 12 people behind closed doors to decide the fate of the Silver Crown, and of the staff whose livelihoods depended on it. As he waited, Andre found himself thinking not about the potential business opportunity, but about the people he'd met in the past 2 days. About Reynolds and his 12 years of improvement plans, about the bellhop who had proudly shown him to his room, even about Heather, who had treated him poorly but who clearly had potential under better circumstances. The boardroom door opened and Richard Wellington emerged. His expression gave nothing away as he approached Andre. "The board has reached a decision," he said. "Congratulations, Mr. Bennett," Richard Wellington said, extending his hand. "The board has accepted your offer. The Silver Crown Hotel will be yours once the paperwork is finalized." For a moment, Andre stood perfectly still, processing the news. Then he shook Wellington's hand firmly. "Thank you. I promise the hotel will be in good hands." The vote wasn't unanimous, Wellington admitted as they walked toward his office. "But your presentation swayed enough members. Your vision for preserving the hotel while bringing it into the modern era, it resonated with those who truly care about this place." Inside the office, Wellington poured 2 glasses of scotch from a crystal decanter. "My grandfather kept this bottle in his desk for special occasions," he explained, handing 1 glass to Andre. "I think he would approve of its use tonight." Andre accepted the drink. "To the Silver Crown," he said, raising his glass slightly. "To new beginnings," Wellington replied. They both sipped the aged scotch, its warmth spreading through Andre's chest. "The lawyers will handle the details starting tomorrow," Wellington continued, setting down his glass. "But effectively, you're the owner as of now. I'll announce the change to the department heads in the morning, but beyond that, how and when you want to tell the staff is up to you." Andre nodded thoughtfully. "I'd like to meet with David Reynolds tonight if possible. There are some immediate changes I want to implement." Within the hour, Andre was seated in Reynolds' office again, this time sharing the news of his successful purchase. The hotel manager's reaction was one of pure relief. Thank God, Reynolds said, not bothering to hide his emotion. When I heard Granite had increased their offer, I thought we were done for. We have a lot of work ahead, Andre cautioned. The hotel needs significant investment, and we'll need to move quickly to turn things around. Reynolds straightened in his chair, energized by the challenge. Just tell me where to start. Andre pulled out his phone and opened his notes. First, I want to meet with all department heads tomorrow at 8 a.m. I need everyone to understand that their jobs are secure, but that changes are coming. They'll be relieved about their jobs, Reynolds said. As for changes, most of the leadership team has been begging for improvements for years. Second, Andre continued, I want to implement an immediate training program focused on customer service excellence. Everyone from the doorman to the housekeepers needs to understand our new standards and expectations. Reynolds nodded enthusiastically. I can start putting that together tonight. And third, Andre said, his voice becoming more deliberate, I want to speak with Heather. Reynolds' enthusiasm dimmed slightly. Tonight? Tonight, Andre confirmed. 30 minutes later, Heather entered the manager's office, her posture defensive and her expression wary. She looked between Reynolds and Andre, clearly uncomfortable. Heather, please have a seat, Reynolds said gently. She sat stiffly on the edge of the chair, hands clasped tightly in her lap. Am I being fired? She asked directly, her voice barely above a whisper. Andre was surprised by the question's bluntness. Why would you think that? Heather's eyes flicked to him briefly, then back to Reynolds. Because of how I treated Mr. Bennett when he checked in. I know it was wrong. Reynolds looked at Andre, leaving the response to him. That's actually why I wanted to talk to you, Andre said. But not for the reason you think. He leaned forward slightly, his tone conversational rather than accusatory. I'm curious, why did it happen? You've been with the hotel for what, 5 years? Almost 6, she corrected quietly. And from what I hear, you were once considered one of the best employees here, Andre continued. Employee of the month 3 times in your first year. Surprise flickered across her face. You know about that? Andre nodded. So what changed? The direct question seemed to catch her off guard. She looked at Reynolds uncertainly. It's okay, Reynolds assured her. Mr. Bennett is asking because he wants to understand, not to punish. Heather took a deep breath. Everything changed. The cutback started, and suddenly we were doing the jobs of 2 or 3 people. The systems kept breaking down. Guests got angrier because service was slipping, but it wasn't our fault. We didn't have the tools or the time to do things right. Her words started coming faster, as if a dam had broken. Then the rumors started about the hotel being sold, about all of us losing our jobs. Management kept saying everything was fine, but we knew better. People started looking out for themselves, doing the bare minimum. Why put in extra effort if you're going to be unemployed next month, right? She finally looked directly at Andre. That night when you came in, we'd just been told our health benefits were being reduced again. I'd been on my feet for 10 hours because my relief didn't show up. And then, she stopped abruptly. And then? Andre prompted gently. And then you walked in looking tired but important, and I made assumptions. I judged you based on nothing but how you looked and what I thought you might be like. Her voice grew quieter. It was easier than treating you like a real person with feelings. I'm not proud of it. The honesty of her answer impressed Andre. He nodded slowly. Thank you for your candor. So am I fired? She asked again. No, Andre said simply. You're not fired. In fact, I'd like to offer you a new position. Confusion replaced the worry on Heather's face. I don't understand. Mr. Bennett has purchased the Silver Crown, Reynolds explained, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. As of tonight, he's the new owner. Heather's mouth actually fell open. She looked from Reynolds to Andre and back again, as if waiting for someone to tell her it was a joke. It's true, Andre confirmed. And one of my first priorities is to rebuild the culture of this hotel. I need people who understand what excellent service should look like, who have experienced both the good and the bad, and who are honest enough to acknowledge their mistakes. He leaned back in his chair. I'm creating a new position, guest experience coordinator. The person in this role will be responsible for identifying and solving problems before they affect our guests. They'll also help develop training programs to ensure consistent service across all departments. And you want me for this job? Heather asked incredulously. I do, Andre said. You've shown me something important. that even good people can provide poor service when they're working in a broken system. I need someone who understands that reality to help me fix the system. Tears welled in Heather's eyes, but she blinked them back quickly. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Reynolds encouraged. It's a significant promotion with appropriate compensation. Heather straightened in her chair, a new determination in her expression. Yes, absolutely yes. I won't let you down. I believe you, Andre said, and was surprised to realize he meant it. We'll talk more about the details tomorrow. For now, please keep this conversation confidential. We'll be making a formal announcement to all staff in the morning. After Heather left, practically floating with relief and excitement, Reynolds shook his head in admiration. That was unexpected. Most new owners would have started by firing the person who gave them poor service. Andre shrugged. My grandfather used to say that the true measure of leadership isn't how you treat people who can help you. It's how you treat people who can't. He stood and stretched, feeling the fatigue of the long, eventful day settling into his muscles. We have a big day tomorrow, David. Get some rest. 6 months later, Andre stood in the newly renovated lobby of the Silver Crown, watching guests check in smoothly at the redesigned front desk. The space still retained its historic elegance, but now it hummed with efficient, attentive service. Staff moved with purpose and confidence, technology complementing rather than replacing the human touch. The hotel had been transformed, not just physically but culturally. Employee turnover had dropped by 60%. Guest satisfaction scores had risen to their highest levels in 20 years. Revenue was up, costs were down, and the Silver Crown was once again mentioned among the city's premier luxury accommodations. Mr. Bennett? A voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Heather, tablet in hand, looking professional and poised in her new role. The journalists are ready for you in the grand ballroom. Andre nodded. Thank you, Heather. How's the new check-in system working? Brilliantly, she replied with genuine enthusiasm. We've reduced wait times by nearly 70%, and the staff love how it frees them to focus on the guests rather than the paperwork. And the training program? Just finished the 3rd cycle. Every department has now completed the full course. She hesitated, then added, People are proud to work here again. You can feel the difference, Andre smiled. That's what matters most. They walked together toward the grand ballroom, where the hotel was hosting a press conference to announce its recent industry award for Most Improved Guest Experience. The recognition had come faster than even Andre had hoped. You know, Heather said as they paused outside the ballroom doors. I've never properly thanked you. For what? Andre asked. For seeing something in me that I couldn't see in myself at the time. Her voice was earnest. And for showing all of us that change is possible, that things can get better even when they seem hopeless. Andre was touched by her sincerity. You did the hard work, Heather. You and every member of this team. Because you gave us reason to believe it was worth it, she countered. That's what leadership is. Inside the ballroom, journalists and industry representatives waited for the announcement. David Reynolds stood at the podium, ready to introduce Andre. The room quieted as they entered. Before we begin, Andre said to Heather, I want you to join me on stage for the announcement. This award belongs to everyone who made it happen, starting with you. Her eyes widened. Me? But I'm the one who showed me exactly what needed to change. Andre finished for her, and then helped make it happen. That's the story worth telling. As they walked into the ballroom to applause, Andre thought again about his grandfather, who had taught him that true service was about seeing people, really seeing them, and responding to their needs with dignity and respect. He had built his technology company on that principle, and now he had applied it to the Silver Crown with remarkable results. The hotel where he had once been made to feel unwelcome had become a showcase for what was possible when you combined clear vision, smart technology, and a genuine belief in people's capacity to rise to high expectations. It wasn't just about buying a building. It was about transforming a culture and creating opportunities for people to become their best selves. And that, Andre reflected as he stepped up to the podium, was an investment that would pay dividends far beyond the bottom line.